welcome to the show. I'm Eric Murphy.
I'm Vila Bianca.
This is Skeptic Generation.
And we need to talk.
Hey, V, how's it going?
It's going well. It's good.
Good.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. I know we're just having this conversation because people want to know what we're up to, and so we use this to lead into it. So anything new or fun this week that we've done?
We went to a rage room.
We did. It was your birthday present to me. We finally got the chance to do it. We
cashed in on that.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
It is. It's a room where you put on safety equipment and smash things.
Yeah.
And so we broke beer bottles and a big TV, and
we essentially got to be really angry, abusive dads for a half hour.
Jeez.
That's not the only thing going through your head. Was like, wow, this is cathartic.
Nope, not at all. But it was a lot of fun. Let's see, what else? We did have a couple of other ideas that we didn't get to do, but that's okay because we're going to be announcing those when we do them. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, we didn't do our one-ups. In the meantime, I want to check our announcements. There's not too much to say. There was somebody who had asked about ads on the podcast, and they were they were saying that they're coming in at really inopportune times.
When is an ad opportune, really?
Well, I guess they've been coming in right in the middle of our sentences.
That's annoying.
Yeah. So to the best of my ability, I don't think we can, but I'm going to look into it. So hang tight. If you don't want ads at all, you can also become a patron. We do an ad-free podcast and ad-free version of this episode to all of our patrons. If you want to do that, you can go to patreon.com/skepticgeneration or tiny.cc/donate to SG. We'll take you right there. So that is one way to get around that. And then... let's see, is there anything else?
Yeah, there was something that came up as a result of some of last week's calls and one of the polls that we put out this week on our community page, which if you don't go to the community page and look at the polls, we have one pretty much every day with every clip. So the reason that the link to that clip that day is not in the poll is because it hasn't gone live yet, so we don't have the link. But it will always go out at the same time as the most recent clip. So chances are, if you don't know what we're talking about, it's in the clip. But somebody was talking about one of the questions that we asked on the poll this last week was, should we be platforming misinformation if our goal is to address it? Is that dangerous? Is that something we should pursue? I mean, we are a call-in show where people call in with their weird ideas all the time.
Right, but we're not doctors, and for specific things like anti-vax, we specifically asked for it, and then when it came in, we were thrown a lot of data that we had not researched.
Right, so I want to make clear a distinction. We absolutely want to have as many conversations as we can about as many topics as we can, but the crux there is that we can't have that conversation in a productive way. So if someone's going to gish gallop a whole bunch of information at us that we are not equipped to refute in the moment, like we are with a lot of religious claims, for example, we're going to probably move along from that call, not because we're against having the conversation, but because we don't want to give somebody a platform to give misinformation to our audience without our ability to refute it. So there's always that delicate balance of, are we the best people to refute this? And if we aren't, why are we having this person on our show in the first place?
And I did the call out for that last week. That's entirely on me. I was like, let's do it. And then somebody called in, and so, yeah, that was entirely on me. But other than that, I think if we have any other announcements, we can do them as we go into the show. But in the meantime, let's take our first caller.
Yeah, if you are interested in calling the show, please do feel free to do that. You can call the number at the bottom of the screen. That's 585-526-8774. Or you can click the link tiny.cc/callSG from your computer. That's toll free anywhere in the world. And we would love to talk to you. We do have some open lines. And as always, they get pretty full towards the second half of the show. So call in early so we can spend some really good quality time with you.
Yeah. In the meantime, though, our first caller has called in. This is their third week calling in. They waited on the lines for 2 weeks in a row. Let's talk to Tom in Georgia. Tom, you're live with Eric and V.
Thanks for having me on the show. It's been fun because I live in rural Georgia where the internet is not a streaming thing out here. So I've been able to listen to the whole show on hold instead of catching YouTube clips. I may just call in next week and just tell them to keep me on hold. It's easier to listen to the show.
I like it.
I appreciate that you get that out of it, because I feel terrible. We're sorry about that, man. But we see that in the notes you want to talk about presuppositionalism. What is it that you wanted to talk about, or ask about, or engage with us on?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, for some reason, you attract these presuppers like moths to a flame.
Bit.
I've been fascinated by that world because when I became an atheist many years ago, I didn't know anything about it, and it was through watching your show that I was like, whoa, there's a whole other wormhole out there of this really interesting thought process. And my background is in special education.
Oh yeah.
And,
hold on, sorry. What grade level?
So I taught pre-K and kindergarten while I was studying, and then I've taught as an assistant in middle and high school, and that was for several years after I was actually diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder at the age of 30. So there's that.
Hey, well, rock on. I'm sorry, my mom taught pre-K special ed. In California, we called them SH classes. In Texas, they are life skills classes. And I grew up in that environment, and actually I worked as an IA for a long time. So rock on, man. Sorry, go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's why I thought, well, it's kind of boring to hear two people agree with each other on a show. So I always thought, well, because I'm already an atheist. Well, it was through watching your show I've seen these presuppositionalists call in, and I'm not calling in to say if you're a presuppositionalist you have some kind of mental disorder.
No, that would be irresponsible.
Right. I'm not even going anywhere near that.
Sure.
But I think there's a striking correlation between some of the known behaviors of people who have symptoms of, say, narcissism, sociopathy, or antisocial personality disorder, and either the argument itself or the way it's argued by presuppers who, for example, call your show.
How so?
Well, I think it's an apt analogy to call what they're working with a script. But the way I see it is more kind of like you're a marble in their little mind maze that they've constructed for you, and you're not getting out of that. And that is symptomatic of people with narcissism and sociopathy, where it's a set of rules, and you're already playing by a set of rules that's stacked against you. That's kind of the presuppositional argument bears out. And then you add the attitude and the idea that if you argue out of the maze, then the only thing outside of that maze is deflection, projection, and ad hominem attacks. So it's symptomatic of somebody with these, kind of mental disorders.
Well, I think that I got to jump in here because while it can be frustrating debating precepts, this might just be an issue of a small pool of people that are just too small, to get maybe an accurate reading on. Because I've had conversations with presups who were actually respectful, kind, dead wrong, but actually, if you go to my personal channel, Eric D. Murphy, I did a number of things. One of them was a review series on the calls, for the various call-in shows, and kind of going over what the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I also did just kind of sit down, long-form discussions with apologists, and I had a long-form discussion with a presup that I think would be really good if you wanted to check out. I think that the ones who call in or who have called in most have kind of belonged to a very specific niche of kind of intellectual dark web type people. And
right, which is a fascinating culture. Like I probably waded in those waters for too long, because once I'm fascinated by something, I do a deep dive, and I've spent a lot of time listening to how they argue themselves and do their little post wrap up where they make fun of your hair, and it's really ridiculous. I guess I am talking about a niche within a niche. But I was kind of fascinated by how the behavior seemed to match, and wondering if you thought the argument itself attracts those types of people, or the argument, the way it's presented, makes people appear to have these symptoms.
Yeah, honestly, Tom, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. I've had this conversation, not about Presups specifically, but about different groups where people are like, oh, they all have this mental disorder, right? It's like, well, let's not make that assumption. But I do think that we gravitate towards arguments that make sense in our brains, the way our brains are structured and the way that we see the world. And I think that there are certain subgroups that also motivate certain behaviors as good or desirable. And so I think that rather than say that this group as a whole might be part of that like narcissistic personality disorder pool, rather I can imagine a lot of people who happen to be narcissists or whatever, gravitating towards a group that says, hey, you know, your worldview, how you view everything else, you can actually use that to prove X thing. And if you're also kind of obnoxious about it, that's actually a good thing. And we're going to appreciate that about you. So I think it's more of I don't think the overlap is 100%. I don't think that Venn diagram is a circle by any means, but I wouldn't be surprised if certain people gravitate towards certain arenas just because they seem to fit in better there. So I don't know.
I think that... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, the argument and the behavior seem to fit hand in glove, where the argument is already, I'm right and you're wrong, and there's nothing that's going to change that. And the behavior fits that perfectly, where we're not starting out from a place where we want to exchange information. We're starting out where I'm going to correct you.
So that, I think, would be it. And I would separate that from the Presup argument itself, though. This idea of, someone trying to gaslight and push their way into a thing. You said it this way. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. I'm trying to lead the conversation or deflect by throwing out insults or trying to goad you into something else instead of finishing the conversation. I think those are really, really toxic things. But I was going to school to become a school psychologist. I never finished that, so I am not able to diagnose. But it's an interesting thought, and I don't know. I just wanted to, I appreciate that you've called in 3 weeks in a row, and thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to explore that with you guys because, again, you attract these guys like magnets. How they work. But, I'm a big fan of the show. You guys have been fundamental in helping me form my own arguments and figure out what I believe. And I seriously appreciate you guys and the work that you do. And last week was the wrong time to talk about this because the second you opened the show, it was like, oh, my subject is nowhere near as relevant as what's going on right now. So, but I really appreciate you guys.
I appreciate you back, man.
Tom. Appreciate
Take care of yourself.
And the biggest bummer of last week's show, nobody told you Happy Sweet 16. So, Happy Sweet 16.
Yeah,
well,
our show had a Sweet 16. Yeah. All right. Take care, man.
All right. Later, guys.
Bye.
Yeah. Our show is 17 episodes old.
We're like those really obnoxious parents who use months as birthday, this baby is 17 months old. You mean a year and a half? No, 17 months.
17 weeks. 17 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely love doing this. I love the show, and I don't care if it's obnoxious. I'm super excited about it. All right. Who should we take next?
I know that Judy called in last week with a story, and I do want to maybe not spend too long on it because we don't necessarily want to just tell stories. We do want to have that back and forth, but I think that it's worth kind of bringing up.
That's true. Before we do take them then, for those who are watching, if you want to talk, if you're a believer, now's the time. For those of you who are watching, get those feelers out because we've got people who want to talk and share their stories, but we want to talk to more people who don't agree with us or who, want to talk about what they believe and why. And we would love to talk to you. So if you're that person or you are somewhere in the house with that person, let them know to give us a call, 585-526-8774 or tiny.cc/callSG, capital S, capital G.
Except for you, Atangela. I see you in the chat. And we're blocking you again. Dude, he has been obsessed with me.
Yes, he's been like jumping into your streams.
With like little bots and everything.
Yeah, multiple accounts.
He's procreated. He has a bunch of little bots now. It's great.
All right, let's talk to Judy in Indiana.
Sounds good.
Judy,
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the show.
Yeah. What would you like to talk about?
Thank you very much. Well, I promise I'll try not to take too much time, but I am a talker. And but one of the things, well, I think the thing that's really, burning my chaff lately with, this whole abortion thing, throughout the entire country. And I'm in Indiana, so, it's raging here too, but not as much as in Texas. Is, with the laws enacted with abortion and whatnot, I don't hear very many people talking about what's happening with Planned Parenthood throughout all of this. I'm 61. My daughter's 34. I'm bipolar. It's kind of important to note that. I also was back in the day a JW. My daughter was not. When she graduated high school, she came home. She said, "Mom, so and so is pregnant." Her friend so and so was also bipolar. This is why she came to me, because she knew what kind of heavy medication her friend was on, because she knew what kind of heavy medication I was on, being bipolar. Now, I'm trying to phrase this so I don't give away anybody's privacy, okay? And so I immediately, my first thought was Planned Parenthood. I don't care, JW, from here to the moon,
Yeah,
This
take care of the
girl
kid.
needs to talk to a medical professional who is kind, who is considerate, who will take her by the hand and help her to understand the 1,000 different things that's happening within her own body. She does not need pressure from parents, from friends, from governmental agencies. For God's sake, the last person in the world that she needs pressure from, And so, and I had no judgment against what her decision would be, one way or the other. And as an aside, I am no longer a JW, and neither is his girl. But anyway, and I told my daughter, I said, and they did not want me to go with, because I was a mom, and I told my daughter, I said, look, it's going to be a heavy thing. There's picket lines all over the place to get to Planned Parenthood, And I remembered from when I was in high school, I said, but you need to go. She needs to go, and that's the place to go. And so you guys go, you hold hands, and you go arm in arm and go in there and be there for each other. And they did, and I was so proud of them. But with all this crap going on in the country, these things are being stripped away. These things that not only young women need, young girls need, women of all ages need to know. Because, not everybody is raised being taught what's happening in their bodies.
Yeah.
We need to have places to go, to learn, to be taught, where people can have doctors who are compassionate and to be able to make their choices informed choices, for God's sake, not some 90-year-old freaking people, wearing outdated suits and bow ties saying, oh, 6 weeks. Well, the hell with that. Give me Planned Parenthood, Give me places where people can go arm in arm and with help and get help to make informed choices,
Yeah.
And maybe that's the end of my little spiel. I don't know. You tell me, because I can't keep talking for your whole.
No worries. I do need to rein you in a bit, because we need to have a back and forth.
Sure.
So let me ask you a couple things. First off, rock on being a supportive mother.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. I wish we had more people like you in the world. And
Thank you.
We obviously absolutely agree with you. And anything we can do to help support that, including sharing that story. But I had a question for you. This girl, she was a Jehovah's Witness?
Yeah, she was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. She was born in,
And Was there fallout from having an abortion?
She did not tell her mother. I did not tell her mother.
Good.
I did not tell her family. That was not my decision to make, to tell her family.
Absolutely.
If she wanted to let her mother know, she could. She obviously did not want her parents to know.
Sure.
Otherwise, she would have gone to her parents.
Okay.
You know, that, again, like I said, that was not my call.
I totally understood. Totally understood. I just didn't know if it was a part of her story, and so that's a probing question to ask.
She has since left.
Okay.
Yeah, she has since left the JWs.
Well,
and
good for her.
I just want to say something.
One last thing.
One of my main reasons for calling in and to let this whole spiel out is because I know there's people who have not thought of this. I know there's people out there who have not thought about, Planned Parenthood. There's a place that we have to protect these rights. So that's one of the reasons why I opened my mouth, and to because I know there's people who haven't thought of that. That's going to be taken away with these laws being enacted.
Absolutely.
If we're not careful, you're absolutely right, and we're seeing it, and it's truly atrocious. I know that on our show we normally promote organizations like Recovering from Religion. We tell people, to get in touch with them if they want to help and field calls. But also, if you are able to volunteer at a local Planned Parenthood, you guys, it is needed. Yeah. It is needed.
Yeah.
So, and for those of you who are working and are, helping give people this incredibly important medical option, and not just that, but providing, just regular care and checkups, regular appointments and just thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for calling in, Judy.
Thank you, Judy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me.
Absolutely.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
So I did want to kind of build off of that for a second. And while I do this, other people should call into the show.
We've got another caller, and then we've got a lot of free space. It turns out today's a little slower. Last week was bumping off the rails.
Well, it's still only the first 20 minutes, but
That's
anything,
true.
we're getting more starting around noon.
Call us, you guys. All right.
No, but
go ahead.
so when I started having sex in grad school, because I was one of those wait until marriage types until about then, I was not taught anything about my body. I had no idea how to be safe. I had no idea the things I should be worried about versus the things I shouldn't be worried about. And I was on the phone with Planned Parenthood at least once a week, convinced that I had contracted something or was pregnant. I had no one to talk to. And so the nurses there would just sit on the phone with me and, no, that's not possible. Did you do this, this, and this? Yes. Okay, well then you're fine. You're okay. I was like, are you sure? Like, yes, like between classes, like panicking. And they provided that resource to me. And helped me learn more about my body. And then I was living with $100 in my account for at least a year, had no money to go to a doctor. So all of my doctor's visits were to Planned Parenthood because it's free. And I got all of my birth control from there free. I got all of my other medical needs in terms of like basic health care from them. When my little sister started having sex before she got married, she's married. It's okay, Mom. It's okay. She was also like, I was like, what, how are you using protection? Are you on birth control? She's like, no. And I was like, you should go to Planned Parenthood. She's like, oh, the place that does the abortions? Why? I was like, no, they do this, and this all for free without any kind of judgment. She was like, wait, really? And like up until that moment, she would have been somebody protesting at a Planned Parenthood and understanding what Judy was saying, that like literally, whoops, speaking of Judy, let's get her off the screen there. Literally what Judy was saying, people don't understand that that organization does so much more in addition to that. So yeah, absolutely 100% agree with Judy there.
Wow. I'm so glad you made it to where you are.
Me too.
And hopefully, if there's anything we can do to help people make it to the other side as well, I think that's it.
Is it the other side though? I feel like I'm still pretty deep in everything.
Yeah, fair enough.
There is no other side. That's the whole point of this show.
Let's talk to Nick in Virginia.
All right.
Nick, you're live with Eric and V. Hi.
Hi, Eric. Hi, V. First of all, I'm huge fans. I've been listening to your shows for 2 or 3 years now.
Cheers.
And I love y'all. Y'all are awesome. And
Aw.
I'm so happy that you're continuing on your own terms and your own show.
Thank you. Thanks for finding us out here in the wild.
Actually, every week we get people reaching out saying, "Oh, I just found you," so it's nice. Nick, what did you want to talk about today?
Okay, so a little backstory. So I'm getting ready to start streaming on Twitch, and
Cool.
I've found a niche that I want to fill.
Okay.
There's a lot of evangelical Christians on Twitch who jump into random parties of video games and evangelize and are like, "Oh, are you Christian?" and are trying to do all these things. And
Oh,
I kind of
gosh.
want to fill the opposite niche. And I'm not looking to be an evangelical atheist. I don't want to jump into parties and be like, "Do you believe in Jesus?" "Oh, well, that's wrong."
Yeah.
But instead offer a platform where people can come to me and I can offer skeptical and critical thinking tactics and beliefs and ideals.
Cool.
Nice.
But thank you.
Are
But I wanna do
you
it-
going to be gaming and kind of doing that alongside while people are gaming, or are you going to be doing like Let's Talk, just talking into the camera and having people interact with you?
I want to do it alongside gaming, but I still have a lot to work out, but I'm hopefully going to start the channel by the end of this month.
Okay.
But alongside gaming, but dedicate maybe 1 day a week to just a Let's Talk stream.
Okay. Rock on.
Thank you. But the big thing I want to do is protect myself. I live in a smaller rural community in Virginia. And so, there's a lot of far right-wing voters around me. There's a lot of Christians around me. And I'm the only person outside of my mother, within a 5 or 6 state radius or more with my last name.
Okay.
So it's very easy to find me. If they find my information, they can find my address in probably 5 minutes or less. So I want to make sure that I'm protected, that my partner is protected, that our home is still a safe space, but that I can do what I want to do and help people overcome poor thinking.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, good on you for even thinking that far ahead. I think that by itself is so important.
Definitely. So there are a lot of options, man. And just from people I'm guessing you kind of just want kind of a heads up on maybe where the pitfalls are along the way. And because when it comes to protecting yourself, there are a lot of options. It just depends on what you want to do. I know that a lot of atheist podcasters and YouTubers don't use their real names. They have privated their Facebook, gone through and made sure that, you go through all the pictures that you've posted on social media and there aren't identifiable landmarks, that you just pare down as much as you can and make sure that you're very, very aware of what is out there, because people will dig.
Yeah, I've had to do some of those things already.
Yeah.
I used to teach, but I'm also a very outspoken leftist in a far right community, and so I had people coming to my personal Facebook page as a teacher and contacting my school as a teacher, and so on and so forth. So I did have to make those adjustments already, and the plan is with this going forward is that to go by a gaming tag and not by necessarily my name.
Yes. Other things you can do are disconnect your doorbell.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a way that people who want to dox you will test whether or not they have the correct address, and what they'll do is if they know you're streaming, they will order you a pizza and wait and watch to see if it gets delivered to you, and then if it is, then they know that that's your address.
They hear ding dong in the background.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, someone got me a pizza. What is this? Yeah, that's That's the address. So make sure that when you're streaming, you're not answering the doorbell is disconnected. That way, if somebody tries to do that, they won't hear anything, and you won't kind of give that away.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. This is a specific tip, but I've never heard of that before. So
Yeah,
I
me
appreciate you
neither.
sharing that.
Actually, unfortunately, one of my friends, Jessie Gender, had that happen to her while she was streaming on Twitch. And she's currently going through something where a bunch of people are kind of targeting her. So she was very thoughtful in the fact that she shared that, like, hey, other Twitch streamers, this is a thing that happened to me that, they do sometimes. So
Yeah. Other things that just kind of, as far as doing your show, if you want to be successful, there are a couple of big things you need to be aware of. Number one, be consistent. Set the times that you're going to stream and make it yourself reliable, because if people know that, you fit into their schedule and they hop in and they get to spend that time, that's how you grow a base. If it's sporadic, you're not really going to grow. The other thing is, if you have not used streaming software before, I suggest OBS and Streamlabs is fantastic. If you've got $100 that you want to spend, or that you can spend, I suggest getting a Stream Deck. A Stream Deck you can put that together and be able to push button transitions.
like
Push button
this.
transitions. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it is a huge help to be able to have, upcoming stream, be right back. Maybe you need to change the heads up status or go to a 1-up or do the stream has ended, thank you, or whatever the case is. Those are a couple things that I recommend. If you are looking for other gear, I would say spend $100. Don't get a Blue Yeti or don't get a Yeti mic. Instead, get a USB AT 2020 microphone. It's $100 and it sounds wonderful. And it is just dollar for dollar, an incredible bang for your buck.
Also, on the subject of being safe, get a P.O. box. Because a lot of the time, if people are like, ooh, how do I get in touch with you? Hey, like if somebody wants to send you something or you want to do an unboxing video or something, that would be sad to have to miss out on because you don't want to share your address. But if somebody also is trying to dox you and that's the only address associated with your handle, they'll think they got it. And then it's just a P.O. box. So you'll be fine.
Yeah, we've had a P.O. box in a different city for a long time.
Yeah. So
for people who send us stuff, by the way,
That's
it
why-
might take us a little bit.
that's why it takes a little bit.
Yeah, for us to actually go and get it because it's a bit of a drive. But yeah, is there anything else or any other concerns that we can help with? I mean, cheers to you for doing that. For everybody else who's watching, this advice is for all of you. If you want to create content,
Yeah.
it's as easy as that. But is there anything else we can help with?
No, first of all, I absolutely appreciate all of your advice. I really do. I've got a couple of really close friends of mine that are successful small streamers.
Okay.
And they have been helping me so much along the way.
Good.
And so a lot of your
Awesome.
advice aligns with what they've been saying as well. So I appreciate it. And I do appreciate the encouragement. I'm excited to, like I said, fill a niche that has been in the community and that I haven't seen anyone else doing. So I'm hoping I've got something here.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
once you start up and you feel comfortable sharing all of that information,
Give us a shout.
yeah, shout out the link, share it in our Facebook group or on
One more,
Discord.
One more bit of advice.
Yeah.
Nick, dude.
Yes.
It's a pain in the butt. Take the time on thumbnails and take the time on your descriptions. The putting the effort into having a good title and description and thumbnail for whatever you're putting out. And, you may not have a thumbnail on Twitch, but you're going to, put out announcements, right? If it's going to be a show, you're going to want to create a Twitter handle, and you should put out images. You should put out ads, advertise yourself, market yourself. And when you're doing that, taking that extra time is a huge thing. I've seen calls that should have been 1 million views. I mean, just incredible calls. Bad thumbnail, never got picked up.
Yeah.
There was one, we did an opener, an opening after we came back from the Ark encounter.
Yeah.
And the thumbnail and the title were really, really catchy, and it got a ton of views, and people are like, oh, this is just the opening. This kind of sucks. But
Yeah, sorry about that.
But yeah, sorry guys. but it drove a ton of traffic, and it wasn't because people wanted to see the opening. It's because they saw a catchy thumbnail and title. And, just definitely make sure you're taking the time on that. It sucks. It takes time. It's frustrating sometimes. Do it.
Well, perfect. I appreciate y'all so much. And yeah, luckily I've got a little bit of photo editing experience as well.
Oh, good.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, if that's the case, other things. Number one, pick out at least 2-3 colors. Get your branding on point. Make sure you're using those same colors, using the same fonts every time. Anyway, yeah, we got to go. I'm just.
We're just going to have to do a separate show where people call it and ask Eric about how to do a YouTube show. All right. Thanks so much, Nick.
I appreciate y'all so much. I love your show. I love your content. I love you two as characters. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Good luck, Nick.
Take care.
Thank you.
There's so many things I wish people would have told me, and just getting the chance to do it is it feels good. It feels good. You guys, when it comes to creating content, the biggest thing is number one, be consistent. Number two, great is the enemy of good. Right?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Perfect
is the enemy of good.
Yep.
If it needs to be perfect, it's never going to go out. If you want to know why my series, Murphy's Law, that went over calls and what went wrong and facing up to, maybe I screwed up or this was a good point. I loved doing it. And then I got way too involved in wanting to make it perfect. And then I stopped entirely.
Yeah. And then you have to go like the other way. Like the one thing that we try not to do is do something that's too clickbaity, right? Like we want you to get an accurate representation of what's in the clip. So like some people don't do that, and that's annoying to me when you're like, oh, this sounds like super interesting. Yeah. And it's like, oh, that was talked about for 2 seconds, and then that wasn't the point of the call at all.
Fair.
But
and yeah, just stick with it, you guys. Yeah, I failed at a show. I failed at a podcast. I started a podcast called The Atheist
Wow,
Podcast.
Nick, you have unlocked Pandora's box.
Just keep putting stuff out there. Okay, Christine in Washington, please save me from myself, because I'm sure people are getting bored out of their minds. Hi, Christine.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here and talk to you two. You guys are my most favorite YouTube channel people.
Yay, thank you.
Let me give you a little bit of a background. I'm a recovered alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I am back when I got sober, secular AA was a non-existent thing. So I went with the standard AA, but I let myself be known that I was an atheist. You know? I mean, there was no cover up on that. Now, if you're familiar with AA at all, you know that they've taken the term spirituality and co-opted that with the term religion. Mm-hmm. And so I consider myself a spiritualist.
Okay.
And what prompted this call is I was watching another podcast where the speaker was going by the Oxford Dictionary definition of spirituality, and that one also did cover and say spirituality relates to religion, which I want nothing to do with.
Right.
But it got me a little confused, and because you two are so knowledgeable about this terminology and the syntax of words and so forth that come, I wanted to kind of get some feedback on what you consider to be the term spirituality vis-a-vis religion. On that.
Yeah.
Maybe help clarify the picture for me a little bit.
Absolutely.
Sure. I took a huge lead on that last call. Do you want to?
Sure. So, Christine, I think one of the issues that I have right away with the story you've told is that somebody pulls out a dictionary to read you the definition of a term, because while that can be useful, right? Dictionaries help us code different letters combinations into different words and helps us communicate. That's great. What an individual person means by a thing, and even how society as a whole has come to understand a concept, often is not even reflected in a dictionary. So yeah, okay. So in general, the consensus is that spirituality is tied to religion because most people who talk about spirituality are religious in some way. And also, religion as a whole has been the dominant worldview for so long that it has shaped how we view words and how we define words. I wrote a whole article on this subject where the word spiritual I think it's the word spiritual. They all have, if you trace back, religious or theological base definitions because it was the educated people who were religious at the time of getting all these words down into books that were deciding what words existed and which ones didn't. So that's my first thing. But in general, I don't think that spirituality and religion are necessarily tied together by any means. I think that religion has co-opted spirituality, or what we mean when we talk about spirituality in a non-religious context. So feelings of awe and connection with the universe and, being one of many and being maybe in sync with people that you don't know, but you are in the same space with, sharing an emotional experience. Like all of these things that we talk about when we mean spirituality were co-opted by religion and made synonymous. But if you were to tease those apart, spirituality is not only something that is inherent to us beyond the constructs of religion, it also is in other animals as well. Like we could very easily talk about elephants and corvids, like crows. Like they have what we would probably consider a spirituality aspect, that ritualization of actions, or those reverent memories of community members that have passed. Like all of these things we would consider spiritual if talking about humans, and are present in other animals that are sufficiently conscious. So I think teasing those apart, like it sounds like you are doing, is actually extremely helpful. And as long as your spirituality is not pushing you into the anti-science or a lack of critical thinking, then I personally don't see a harm in it. And that might be where we differ, because you've been nodding your head this whole time, Eric, and now you're kind of like, yeah. But so, Christine, what are your thoughts with that? What do you think about all of that?
Yeah. I think you hit it right on the head. The way I use to describe it is religion and spirituality are two sides of the same coin. In other words, it's the coin being our aspirations for getting out of ourselves. The religion is the dogma, the religion, the rituals, the theater of religion. Whereas on the other side, spirituality is introspection, mental thought processes, aspirations to be a better person. That's kind of a lot of words there, but in other words, it doesn't require an external entity. In other words, we look to ourselves for betterment, appreciation for our fellow humans, and acknowledgement of nature and the beauty of that. I
gotta say,
to me, they're diametrically opposed philosophies. But one
Interesting.
is personal betterment for oneself. That's the philosophy I like to follow.
Yeah, I have an entirely different definition. So I guess for me, when I hear spiritual, I think of, when you're identifying things about yourself, you go with the most specific, as specific as you can. So if someone's a Catholic, they're not going to say, "Hey, I'm a deist." They're going to say, "I'm a Catholic." But if they don't have, a church or a specific subsect that they're in, "I'm a Christian," or maybe not a specific God, "I'm a deist." right? And kind of the more you step away, the more you have to get a little more generalized. And when I hear spiritual, what hits me is I think, okay, that's another step away. Maybe you're not on the God concept anymore, but you're still looking through kind of magic. Christine?
Yes.
I don't know what's going on in the background.
Magic. I would say it's
Christine?
It's a thought process.
I don't know what's going on in the background, but my ADHD is making it very difficult for me to focus.
Okay, fine.
That's okay. I'm having trouble here. So what I was going to say is just due to people saying, or at least people who I've spoken to have said, oh, I'm spiritual. Mm-hmm. Usually that has included a subset of things for me in my experience. And that subset would be things from crystal healing to believing in, that they can see auras, chakras, or, just various kind of wooey type things. And for me, I kind of maintain the axiom, the ought part. I think from where I'm standing, I think I ought not to use the word spiritual when I can use a more specific term. And the reason is because whenever I use the word spiritual, I might be talking about being in awe and having a spiritual experience from listening to an awesome piece of music. But I try and be very specific and not use that spiritual word because it just supports a foundation that also holds a whole bunch of weird wooey thoughts as well. And so because of that, while spiritual is a great word, it's just become so watered down that I think I want to be as specific as I can. So I try to use that as little as possible.
Okay, that's a very good point. Yeah. I do not believe in high woo-woo and all that kind of stuff. Actually, believe much more in the scientific aspects of observable facts.
Where we can, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from on that. So, yeah, that was very helpful.
Yeah, I think the takeaway here more than anything else is we just had a conversation between three people who have thought about this a lot, all of whom had a different definition of spirituality.
Yeah.
So the fact that your conversation was dismissed because the dictionary didn't match what you were saying, to me feels like a cop-out, right? The much more interesting conversation here is, okay, what is your definition? How does it conflict with mine? And can we find that kernel of common ground and maybe build from there? Yeah. So I love this kind of conversation. So thanks for calling in, Christine.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much. Keep up the great work you guys do.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
I agree with that so wholeheartedly. Just, I don't ever want to be the guy that dies on a hill over a word, over a definition of a single word.
Yeah.
As long as we understand each other, then we can move forward and have conversation.
Well, the thing that confuses me about this is we as skeptics, as skeptical people, as people who appreciate science, and I'm including a bunch of people who are prescriptivists in that. We understand that our understanding of the world changes, right? And so you wouldn't die on the hill of like what some scientists discovered 30 years ago that we have since realized was inaccurate or had more information, right? We understand that entire field is fluid and subject to change and grow and become more precise and better at explaining things. And the fact that we treat words in any other way is strange to me. Like, if you can wrap your head around the fact that you can't reference something 30 years ago that was known scientifically with the confidence that it hasn't been adjusted or refined since.
Yeah.
Why is it so difficult to get your head around the fact that that's what's happening with words all the time?
Oh, absolutely.
So,
absolutely. If you were to go back in time and say, Eric, I yeeted the box across the room.
I yeeted.
To yeet.
To yeet.
So before we move into the next call, I just wanted to give a shout out to, in the comments I saw, friend Steve Woodford. Dude, He commented on the last thing, said, fail forward, always failing forward. Just as somebody who has been on the phone with me and is one of the reasons why I'm still able to do this, because he's been there through some really dark times for me. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Steve.
Let's move on and talk to Josh in Newfoundland.
All right, sounds good.
Hey, Newfoundland.
Yeah, I had to look up what the abbreviation for that was, but I think I got it right. Hi, Josh.
Josh.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I grew up with Newfies, and that's my only connection to Newfoundland. And I know it's not.
Amazing.
It's tenuous, but I just have a love now. So what's up? What do you want to talk about?
Well, it's still there. Well, I just got into my field. I'm soon going to be a teacher, and as you might understand, that's a kind of a semi public field.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Therefore, I'd be in the public eye. And I've been doing a lot of looking, and from the looks of things, the only secular skeptic type groups, organizations are on the mainland, like in the greater part of Canada. Mm-hmm. There's like next to nothing here, and plus the population is relatively religious, especially the old people. We have an aging population.
Sure.
But I know for a fact, on some level, that a lot of the young people can be atheists. They can be generally agnostic. There's also a great deal of non-religious spiritualists, like semi-New Agers, witches, things like that. Mm-hmm. And so I was going to ask you guys if should I attempt, or at least find some channel to promote secularism in the town, and if so, if I'm able to, how would I be able to go about that? Well,
I think your first step is to line out some clear, achievable goals. If you don't set out small steps for yourself, it will feel like you're running in place. And if you set goals that are absolutely undoable, it's going to feel like a failure. So the first question is, what do you have? What is there? And then what would you be able to build off of that? So are there any secular skeptic groups, atheist groups in your area?
That's the thing. There's like nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. Like most of the people I'm aware of, they're just dotted here and there. Mm-hmm. And there are like alternative groups in terms of like the non-Christian groups, but even then, like those are usually like relegated to the other religions, and those that are So and those other groups that the other groups that would be like have most of the people that would probably align with this are usually like very mixed, and often enough they're just like gaming groups and stuff like that. People usually just minding their own business, and oftentimes there's like the quite liberal Christians part of this. So, and I have a number of liberal Christian friends that I wouldn't exactly want to like alienate.
Right.
I think then if you want to get something going, what's interesting is in the notes it says you want advice on how to promote skepticism in your area. I think you need to take some preliminary steps before that's a possibility. If you are the one person standing outside of the courthouse holding a sign or whatever the case is, you're going to look like the guy that's just outside yelling at the birds or yelling at the clouds. It's not gonna get any traction. But maybe see if you can, maybe hop on Meetup or just put your feelers out there and see if there are any skeptic, atheist, agnostic type people in your area who'd want to meet. And that's just because you're asking about your local area. There are other ways that you can be active online.
I've been doing that plenty.
Okay.
Like at least up until recently.
Okay.
Good. I kind of think you may have hit the jackpot there when you were talking about, well, all the people who would agree with me are doing other things in other groups, right? Gaming groups, for example. I think if you listened to the earlier call, Nick is going to be doing a Twitch stream where he games and also talks about skepticism and rational thinking and atheism. So especially if you're a teacher and you're thinking about making a space for the kids and maybe their families, it might be really nice to provide a space for them to hang out after school and game together, and maybe focus on games that inspire those kinds of conversations. Like the Talos Principle, for example, is one of my favorites, and it has questions about the reality of God and the universe baked into it. And so maybe a lot of the uphill battle here is that religions, Christianity or otherwise, tend to create those after-school options a lot more, or those childcare options. So people who aren't necessarily religious are kind of pigeonholed into choosing, well, I mean, does my kid sit at home or does my kid go to youth group, right? And if we want the kid to have friends, then he has to go hang out with these guys, and they happen to be Christian, and that's not really comfortable, but it's better than the alternative. So maybe just creating an alternative space for play and for community that maybe subtly evokes conversations that wouldn't happen elsewhere is sufficient, at least at first. And then if you have a lot of people show up, then maybe you can have that secondary conversation of, okay, so now how do we move this into a space where we can talk about these things overtly?
That's a good idea, actually. I'd like to bring up a few years ago when I was still in university, there are a lot of like religious groups trying to promote and advertise, and one of them actually ended up using like some heavy the Matrix theme stuff, like years after, right? Which is funny because the new trailer came out.
I know, I'm so excited.
Very much, but yeah, it heavily leaned on that kind of thing, even though it's a university area where people generally are usually exposed to multiple kinds of thinking. My main concern is that considering it's youth, I'm high school, like grade 7 to 12, that kind of thing. So like my main thing is largely security, so to speak.
Yeah.
Sure. What subject do you teach?
Biology, actually.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, oh my gosh.
Okay.
So
Honestly, I
here's.
can't wait to start teaching evolution.
Nice.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So, just in the worst case scenario, and mind you, if this advice isn't good for you, hopefully it is good for other people who are watching, who are wanting to do the same thing. It seems like this is the activism episode.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Josh, I imagine that there are communities where there are not people who are skeptics or who are not comfortable meeting up in public.
Imagine that, a community where there are no skeptics.
Well,
What a strange concept.
okay, who aren't comfortable meeting up in public or have, buried that. So another thing you can do is just promote STEM literacy. I mean, if you're gonna, if you have the opportunity to, even if it's not about the religion, but if it's about growing a curiosity in people to want to learn more about the world around them, and then show them the right questions to ask so that they can learn more about it and move forward on their own. If you can inspire people to create those groups, then that's another incredible step. It's just making sure that you're lining up what you're trying to do with expectations that are reachable,
Yeah, my main goal, in fact, as a teacher, is to promote STEM literacy because, given everything going on in the world, I feel that's one of our main hopes.
Absolutely. I think that you and people like you are going to be instrumental in making sure that those conversations get the attention that they deserve. And I think a biology teacher having a science club after class, or just promoting science in the classroom, is not only 100% expected and like within your wheelhouse, it can do so much good. Some people that I follow online. I bring them up all the time because they're my favorites, but Apologia and Vice Rhino, like, they were creationists who started the deconversion process because they learned about things like evolution and biology. So you might have sitting in your classroom when classes start, the next person who is going to become a great skeptical communicator of science. And the only thing that is standing between that and their path is this moment where you have the opportunity to introduce those questions to them, right? So just, even if it feels like it's not landing 90% of the time, and believe me, as someone who does this, it feels like it isn't landing 90% of the time, it really, really is going to matter down the road in ways you might not even be around to see. So, soapbox retired.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for calling in, man.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.
So we were actually hoping for a call from someone on Twitter that you'd been engaging with this week.
Were we?
Yeah. That
I engaged with so many people on that app. Who are we hoping for?
From your live stream. You criticized her article.
Oh, yeah.
What's her name?
SJ.
SJ Thomason.
SJ Thomason. Oh, I invited you and you didn't show up.
SJ, we're here.
And we
waiting.
explicitly ran this show as far away from church time as possible. So unless you're in church, shame on you for not calling in.
You had that time. You had that chance. That said, we did have a couple other callers, but it looks like there might have been a hiccup in the system, and they look like they dropped. So with that said, I think, do you want to actually, with all the talk about activism?
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of have a talk in the Discord, hop into our Discord and kind of have a back and forth about maybe how people who want to start a YouTube channel can start their channel, or how people who want to, stream on Twitch or advice and things like that? I think that'd be fun to kind of engage with our audience on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you're just raring to go in terms of here's how you create a channel, here's what you do. And that's honestly, like, I love that about you. Like, I love that about the ethos of this show is like, let us help. Let us show you what we do and walk you through it so you can do it too. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's what building this community should look like.
Absolutely, because we're only going to do so much on our platform, but if it's echoed out, if we're all doing our part just a little bit, then we'll get there.
Absolutely.
That said, I think we need your help, you guys. If you have a religious friend or family member, or you are in forums of people that you want to call in, get them to call in. We had a slow week this week, and we want to make that better next week. So help us out. Like, subscribe, share the video out, and I think I want to
wrap up early.
And hop into Discord. What do you think?
That works.
Okay.
We do have. I apologize for some reason. Wirecast is not revealing all of the super chats, which is weird, and they kind of have disappeared in the live stream. But we do have a couple that we do want to make sure we read out. And thank you to everybody who donated and didn't get logged by Wirecast for some reason.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
But let's start by thanking Left, Right, Left, donated 20, I don't know what they donated.
20 A's. Thank you for the 20 A's.
I think it might be Australian dollars. That said, donation for a shout out to Recovering from Religion, online meetup groups all over the world.
Absolutely.
Find community. Absolutely. If you want to get involved, if you want to get active and you are not in an area where you can do that, or you want to just maybe want a social distance, or you're immune compromised, but you still want to make a difference, reach out to Recovering from Religion. They always need volunteers at the Hotline Project. We love and support them, and they will train you. You don't need to have a degree. They will get you up to speed where you need to go, and let them know that we sent you.
Absolutely.
Because It's absolutely, it's tons of fun when we get to talk to RFR people and they go, wow, we get more from you guys. So I love that. I want to keep that reputation.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And if you're interested in other YouTubers who do recovering from religion work actually as call screeners, go check out Brina Rice. She's doing some good stuff. And then Cooper Gates said, $10. Thank you so much. Apologia said Ken Ham was a major reason why he deconverted. Ooh, Ken Ham is going to have to live with that for the rest of his life.
Oh,
that's gotta great to be like, this person who is making such a difference was set on this path by me by accident.
Well,
oh no.
I mean, that is one of those examples of people who, instead of engaging with you and listening to what you have to say, instead they make assumptions about what your motivations are and try and attack false motivations. And it is just one of the skeeziest, most dishonest tactics I've ever seen.
Funny story. I was able to reconnect with a friend from my Christian college, and we were talking about how our views had changed over time. And he is he would consider himself, I think, a deist now. Very much thinks there's something, but like not attached to any particular religion, especially like evangelicism, young earth creationism. And the thing that he brought up was like, do you remember that Ken Ham and Bill Nye debate?
Yeah.
I was like, yep. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. All right.
So I actually friend Holy Kool-Aid. That was one of the things that kicked him into the into that arena as well.
Oh yeah.
Actually, before we do, can we get our Discord link out? Do we have our Discord link?
We don't have it up in any of the shots, but I'm going to drop it in here. Forgive me for the loud chat.
Oh, in the live chat. Yeah, absolutely. For people who are watching, go to tiny.cc/SG Discord. It's tiny.cc/SG Discord. And come and say hi to us. Let's have speaking of, we had our first senior patron hangout.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun.
So much fun.
If you want to join the next one, all you got to do is go to Patreon, support us at that level.
Yeah.
Tiny.cc/donate-SG. Every little bit helps. But seriously, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell icon, leave a comment. Every little bit helps so that we can get out there. And we want to grow.
All right.
Until next time,
fail forward.
Ooh, I like it.